U.S. tariffs on some Canadian goods may be paused until April 2nd, but industries are still scrambling to make provisions and protect themselves. The restaurant industry has been on shaky footing since the pandemic, with many not fully recovered. Restaurants Canada is asking the government to consider exempting certain food items from its potential retaliatory tariff response. And if they can't, they suggest a number of ways that might help soften the blow. For more on what's on the list and what the industry is asking for, we are joined by Janet Cormier, Vice President for Atlantic Canada at Restaurants Canada. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Andrea.
All right, so let's dive in. You say if the government cannot exempt restaurants, they can help soften the blow. How can they do that?
There's a number of things government can do. What we've seen in the last few months was the HST holiday on restaurant meals, for example. It increased foot traffic in our establishments, and Canadians were spending a little bit more when they were dining out, and that money was staying within the establishment instead of going into government coffers. So making that HST break permanent, removing the tax on restaurant meals, it would create an incentive to have people frequent our establishments more frequently and spend a little bit more. Another thing they can do is we were very encouraged by the action that's been taken on the interprovincial trade barriers and the dismantling of a lot of them. It's very important that the premiers keep working on that kind of a thing. Premiers could also help us out by increasing things like licensee discounts on alcohol. Those are high profit margin items on menus, and would allow us to maybe recoup some of the extra money we're spending on other items, such as lettuce, onions, tomatoes, etc.
And Janet, what are your biggest concerns for the industry in the face of these tariffs?
Well, the concern is twofold. On one hand, we've already seen an increase in operating costs in restaurants in the past 2 years of over 20%. So any additional cost will hurt the bottom line. So we're talking on retaliatory tariffs. The lists that have come out have tomatoes, have lettuce, have a whole bunch of food items on it, which is going to make purchasing food more expensive, not only for restaurants, but for Canadians at the grocery store. So trying to perhaps offset those costs and other measures that I just mentioned would be helpful. The second part is we know that we're expecting for anywhere between 800,000 to 1 million job losses within days. We know that the first item off a family's budget when times get tough is restaurant meals and takeout. And so we had already seen with the affordability crisis, people coming in less often. And when they were coming in, they were spending less money. This will just exacerbate what we've been seeing in the past couple of years.
And Janet, you kind of just touched on it, but what are the effects of tariffs on everyday customers who just want to go to restaurants and have a good time with their friends or family?
So unfortunately, you're probably going to see higher prices on menus. Restaurants are conscious that customers are also struggling to make ends meet and are price aware. So they'll probably have to absorb a little bit of that 25% increase, but they're going to have to pass that on to customers. We're probably also going to see menu changes. As restaurants try to look at other ways to source their foods, they'll probably look at sourcing locally, for example. We'll probably see menus change more often, maybe reduce in size, for example. But probably the biggest impact will be the price to customers.
All right, Janet Cormier with Restaurants Canada. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.